Let's go on a run while I tell you about my pregnancy. So on Labor Day last year, I was gonna run a 5K. I didn't want to take the test until I ran. And then that night, in the middle of the night, I took a test that was positive. At that point, I was already signed up for the Boston 10K for women. I think I was 10 or 11 weeks when I ran that. I was very slow. That was also a point before I was like telling people. So at 16 weeks, I wake up and it's as if I had my period. That's not normal when you're pregnant. Luckily, my OB is like 5 minutes from my house. So I called, I went in, we did an ultrasound. My personal OB was not in the office that day. So I'm in the ultrasound room holding Quasi's hand. A little bit of spotting is normal. What I had looking back was not normal. And if you've ever been pregnant, you know that the ultrasound tech really can't say anything. The ultrasound tech is like, I'm gonna get the doctor. And I was like, this can't be good. So she goes and gets a doctor I've never seen before. Mind you, they have snuck me in for an appointment, so everyone's very busy in this office. The doctor comes in, turns on the lights while my belly is still exposed with gel on it. And she's like, this is placenta previa. You need to take it easy. Do not like work out. She was like, I can write you off work if you want. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm only 16 weeks pregnant. Like, for the rest of my pregnancy? Hell no. You're not 21 weeks yet, so we're worried about you. Like, don't bleed out. And then after that, we're worried about you and the baby. And I was like, I'm worried about the baby, but whatever. As soon as Quasi hears placenta previa, he's on his phone, like looking things up. Not the greatest idea. And for the next part of my pregnancy, that's pretty much all I did, was look stuff up. Terrifying. This is my first pregnancy, and I'm only 16 weeks. So I'm like, what is going on? The following week, I saw an MFM OBGYN. So 2 important things about placenta previa, actually 3. So the placenta is blocking the exit, the natural exit. For that reason, they want to do an early C-section so that you never go into labor, because that can cause contractions and then you're bleeding. It's really not good. At 21 weeks, they're like, listen, if you ever bleed again, you need to go straight to the hospital. That would be easier said than done, because the hospital is about 40 minutes away. This is where you need to do as I say, not as I do. I did have one more kind of episode of spotting, and I knew that at the hospital, all they really do is monitor you to see if like you need to deliver the baby. It was self-stopping within 5 minutes, so I just stayed at home. This is also the time where I think I was gaslighting myself into thinking that I was okay. Meanwhile, I'm not telling anyone about the previa because that seems just too complicated to explain. And 1 in 3 births ends in a C-section. So I was like, I got this. I didn't got it. I slept in today longer than I should have, and now it's really, really hot. I haven't fully processed. So just bear with me as I tell this part of the story. My heart goes out to all the people who have emergency C-sections, because usually that's after a lot of labor and you're exhausted at that point and you just want the baby out. And it's terrifying. But there is something to be said about a planned C-section where like you're meeting all these doctors and you're just building up the anxiety of it, and you know what's going to happen. So I think I just spent a lot of time thinking about it, which probably wasn't great. So at this point, it's April 8th. It's his birthday / eviction day from my body. My main concern, obviously, was that the baby would be okay, because 36 weeks, actually, we did it right on 37. 37 weeks is early still. It's like early or late preterm is what they call it. There was a chance that, you know, his lungs wouldn't be fully developed. He's okay. That didn't happen. I don't know how people talk and run at the same time. We're at like 2 miles. And I feel like I'm not making real sentences. So we'll see how the rest of the story goes. The theme of the previa is basically don't lose too much. When they do the spinal tap, this giant needle, you're like up on the skinniest metal table that you've ever seen in your life. I'm also very short, so it took a little bit for me to get on the table. And then the resident and I became BFFs really quick, because I'm like holding her shoulders and my forehead is like to her forehead. And I'm basically like crying at this point. And she's trying to distract me. Meanwhile, it's a lost cause because I'm freaking out. I lay down on the table, and then they do a timeout where they like make sure that they're operating on the right person. The baby was out in less than 5 minutes, but the whole time I'm shaking like crazy. All of the shaking and chattering was very involuntary. I thought I would like crack my tooth. That's how hard it was. As soon as he was out, within like 3 minutes, I just froze and like waited for the cry. This is the only part where I wasn't chattering. I cannot explain to you that feeling of your baby coming out and hearing the first cry. Prior to the birth, they were like, do you want a clear drape so you can see the baby? And I was like, honestly, I just need you to make sure he's okay first. Like, I can wait a little bit, because I knew they would have to do like an APGAR score on him. So I just hear him cry like in the corner of the room. And then the surgeons are stitching me up. This is the part where they say you feel pressure, and it just, I was hearing squelching, and my back on the metal table was like really being pushed, so there was a lot of pressure. And I think my mind was just like thinking about it, and I did not feel well. So at this point, they're like, the anesthesiologist leans over me, and he's like, I'm gonna give you something stronger. 2 seconds later, there's tubes in my nose, and I'm passed out. Surgery started around 4 p.m. I wake up about 4 hours later, or almost like 9 p.m. In a room with Quasi, and then Zidane is like under the lights to regulate his body temperature. I didn't know what happened. I'm gonna finish the story and then run the last half mile because I'm just exhausted. We're at 3 miles now. As soon as I wake up, I'm starving because I haven't eaten since last night. So anyway, it's 11 p.m. by the time they like move us up to our recovery room in the mother infant unit. And at that point, I was just like asleep. They asked if we wanted the baby in the nursery, and I said yes. The next morning, both the anesthesiologist and the resident surgeon came to check on me and check my incision and tell me what happened to me. Basically, they were almost done stitching me up, and I guess I started like hemorrhaging blood. So what was supposed to be 20 minutes of just like stitching me up turned into like 2 hours of them making sure that I was good. Thank goodness for them. I didn't need a blood transfusion, but over the next 2 days, I did get some iron in my body. And yeah, I'm almost, finished my run. So if you want a postpartum story, that actually gets crazier. 3.1 miles down. Thank you for being here. Even if no one watches this, I needed to process that in some way. The doggy's outside. And the baby. If my red face and my huffing and puffing wasn't enough, here's proof that I did, in fact, run a 5K.